Right.
So I was actually the first person in Ukraine to get vaccinated.
Oh yeah, tell us more about that project.
Oh, it's like, so I'm not only like in Yanilab, I'm also in the CDC. It's like three of us, Josiah Zayner, David Ishi, and me. And we started doing this project with the DIY vaccine, which like basically we tested a vaccine, DNA vaccine. And it was pretty, not reckless, but I'd say extreme, especially for me. I was like, who is this Josiah Zayner? Like at first, and first video of him that I watched was about fecal transplant. So I'm like, who is this guy? Like self-experimentation, I didn't agree with him. Then like 3 years later, I'm just like, let's shoot up some vaccine.
Hi everybody, welcome back. We're interested in highlighting some community members in the biohacking and genetic engineering group. And today I'm accompanied by Dariia Dantseva. She is a fantastic young lady, especially from Ukraine. And we actually got to meet in person at Biohack the Planet live when we flew her out from Ukraine because we were really interested in what kind of ecosystem she's been creating, especially in Ukraine for DIY biolabs. So welcome, Dariia. We're really glad to have you back on and just kind of check in and get to know you and find out like the status of what's going on and kind of your priorities. So welcome.
Thanks for the invitation. Nice to see you. Like not in live, but over Zoom. But still, it's better than nothing.
Better than nothing, yeah. Until again we meet, we really hope to bring back live events and hopefully, have some really great conversations just following up. So one day.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like to kind of dive in and get to know some of the projects that you're working on. So can you kind of tell me, in very short sentences of like who you are and what you're doing at the moment? Yeah, let's start with there.
Yep. So I'm Dariia. I'm a biohacker, and I've been a biohacker for 3 years now. I'm 20. I live in Ukraine, in Dnipro, Ukraine. I'm also graduating my bachelor's degree in biotechnology and bioengineering. I'm a founder of Ukraine's first DIY biolab, Yanilab, which is also located in Dnipro. And we're basically a DIY biolab as usual, like every other lab, but we're also we're first in Ukraine, and we're not only doing just like local like STEM, I don't know, educational stuff. We go to other Ukrainian cities, we collaborate, and it's why we do this is because well, when I got into university, my first year, I got so disappointed in Ukrainian science and how it runs in our educational system. I thought it was way better, but like our university has like no funding whatsoever. So after my first semester, I got so depressed because I wanted to do something important. And to me, science is like one of the most important things in the world. Like what can be more important than that? I mean, medicine too, but science also. And so after my first semester, my brother told me about this dude. His name was Josiah Zayner. And he's like, look, he's a biohacker. And look, like there's the people who do science at home in their garages and kitchens, stuff like that. And at first I was like, who are these people? Like, why would they do that? First I was like, why? But then I was like, oh, I see this as a way for me to educate myself and learn because I wasn't getting enough information in university, especially on hands-on experiments. So I started doing that. And like then I heard that at the Odin they had this stuff where if you post stuff on Twitter, they get you $2 credit. So I started shit posting on Twitter.
Shit posting on
uh,
Twitter. That's how you get money. Learn.
yeah, or a CRISPR kit.
Or
So I
CRISPR
got
kit.
it, and that's how things kind of kicked off. And then I just started building a lab in my brother's room at my parents' house. Um, and then I was like, okay, that's cool. Like I learned something, but it would be cooler if I ask my friends from university to join me, and I gotta show them how to do CRISPR, and like I'll teach them how to do stuff. And we started gathering like once a week. And then we just like we can found a lab. So we founded a lab. We moved into like bigger other place, and we're like we want to teach Ukrainian people. We want to teach like high schoolers. We see this as a way to give a second life to Ukrainian science,
Hmm.
because Ukrainian science used to be great at like Soviet Union times, right? Because there was a lot of funding. But after that, it just like slowly dying. And same with the educational system, kind of.
Right.
So we were like, how can we help, right?
Hmm.
Because we have so many talented young people in Ukraine, our youth. So we're just like, we gotta do something, right? And we want to build like this whole network of labs in Ukraine in big
Hmm.
cities, and we do a lot of like talks, lectures, workshops. So like invite people. We build lab with our own like hands and resources. We didn't have many sponsors like except for the Odin, I guess.
Hmm.
So we literally had to learn how to build, how to like solder and stuff like that. So like and even the whole place, like our lab, it is so DIY. It is very DIY. Like everything, the furniture, like this stuff, it is very DIY. And but us students, we got to build a lab which is better than our university lab. That is confirmed by our professor from university.
What?
Yeah, I know. And we're just doing that. We're developing our lab. It takes us a lot of time, and
Hmm.
well, basically because we don't have much funding or like any funding for that, and so we're free for collaboration. And if you have a bunch of or not a bunch of, just like some equipment for the lab, we'd be uh, really thrilled to
Yes.
have it and
Yeah,
use
that
it.
that would be really really great, especially like, starting up a small lab for the community. It's always a great resource to kind of, get the community involved and chip in for as well. So I'm really excited for Yane Lab to really explode, and I really hope that you can build this kind of network, especially in Ukraine. So you kind of mentioned that like kind of the status of Ukraine, of like, their the education is not set up to for like success, especially in Ukraine. So can you tell us more a little bit about how Ukraine's science system, or like science education system, is at the moment, and why is Yane Lab completely different from the science education you get at university?
Well, a lot of people in our university that are like, which are like professors, they are very unmotivated. They don't want to motivate the students also.
Hmm.
So it's just like it's sad. It's really depressing. Like when you see this, like professors that don't want to do anything. Actually, they're just kind of um, just agreed with everything that's going on. Like they have no power left to just change things, because like who changes things? Us, not like someone else. If you don't like something, you gotta change it. And that's like what why I started a lab, because I didn't like what was at university.
Hmm.
And we don't have much competent professors. Like there's a lot of corruption in universities. There's a lot of what is it? Plagiar. When people
Plagiarism?
copy. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Hmm.
A lot of that,
Ah.
and it's a big problem, honestly.
Hmm.
We have a lot of, so like 95% of scientists in Ukraine, like professors, that are like not good. I want to say trash, but I don't know, maybe that's too aggressive.
Trash.
They're
Academic is trash in Ukraine.
yeah, it could be better. So, and there's like 5% of very motivated scientists which work like in Kiev, our capital and
Hmm.
biggest city. Like they're located there. And so like local universities in other cities, they don't, like they're not well,
Hmm.
because they don't have the staff, they don't have the funding to do much.
Right. So
And
then what happens kind of to like, the students or the youth that's trying to get into science? What's happening over there?
what's happening is that like they want to like study science, they go
Hmm.
into university, they just like they get bachelor's degree, and they're not working like as a researcher. They just
Okay.
go, a lot of them go work at IT, and like because it pays great in Ukraine,
Hmm.
but there's so little like amount of people that are actually doing science after that, or want to
Really?
do
Okay.
science.
So
Yeah,
then
because
what about the people that, are not in university, that may not even have an interest in science? Like, what's kind of like the sentiment overall of just like the economy of Ukraine? Because it is, yeah. Can you just tell us like what Ukraine's priorities are in terms of like um, creating infrastructure or creating like what I'm trying to say is like, yeah, what are people trying to find a career like focused on? Is it just like only IT, or is science completely out of the picture?
uh, it actually seems like it's definitely out of the picture,
Hmm.
because like, and it's stupid because like when you don't invest in science, you get like stuff like in Ukraine when like it's COVID-19, and like like there's no vaccine in Ukraine. No one's working on vaccine here
Right.
because of lack of funding, stuff like that. And it's like our president was like what, which was very ignorant, and I really disrespect what he said. He's like, oh, I'll give $1 million of to a person who created like will create a vaccine for COVID-19. And like a lot of scientists were mad because like how do you create a like there's no there's no labs, there's no funding, like how do you want it? Like it was very ignorant.
Right.
So I was actually the first person in Ukraine to get vaccinated.
Oh yeah, tell us more about that project.
Oh, it's like, so I'm not only like in Yanni Lab, I'm also in the CDC. It's like three of us, Josiah Zayner, David Ishii, and me. And we started doing this project with the DLI vaccine, which like basically we tested a vaccine, DNA vaccine. And it was pretty, not reckless, but I'd say extreme,
Yeah.
especially for me. I was like, who's this Josiah Zayner? Like at first, and first video of him that I watched was about fecal transplant.
Hmm.
So I'm like, who is this guy? Like self experimentation? No, I didn't agree with him. And then like 3 years later, I'm just like, let's shoot up some vaccine. Things change very gradually, as you can see.
Right. But was it done in the name of education, would you say, for the vaccine that you created? Because there's some
Definitely.
controversy, and it wasn't communicated like super well. But yeah, so tell us more a little bit about what your ultimate goal was, creating this video series of trial and error of this experimental vaccine.
That's same as Josiah's and David. We just wanted to show people, teach people, especially in the world where there's a bunch of anti-vaxxers.
Mm,
It's important to show how vaccine is made, like how like it will not make you autistic and stuff like that. Like a lot of people in Ukraine still believe that.
Right.
And like, which is great. I think it was very like educational, and especially we're not doing it in a like academic lab. We're doing it at our home labs, which is like also kind of cool because like we didn't have all the like fancy equipment, but we still like we tested it on cell culture, and like we got to do a bunch of experiments, a bunch of cool stuff. Especially I was thrilled because I learned a lot through that. That was a very good learning experience for me.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to educate people and show like how, yeah, biohacking, a lot of people talk about like, yeah, some glowing bacteria is like, I mean, it's cool, but there's not much of innovation in that. I mean, and I think it was an important step for the biohacking community to see that you can do some important stuff, right? And especially like I want to share this DNA with Ukrainian scientists. I actually got invited in a like pretty like the best university in Ukraine in Kiev. They invited me because they found that very controversial like my interview. And they're like, you know, actually, like we think you're crazy, but we read your post and you seem pretty adequate. Do you want to like go for your master's in our university?
Oh my God,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. They're like we'll be thrilled to see you. Uh, so
So basically, they said that you're more competent than the current scientists that they teach at the university. That's interesting. Wow. Ugh.
yeah, we don't have many competent professors in my university.
Yeah, I think a large attribution for competency is really believing in your students and trying to motivate them to do something, which is I'm glad something that you're doing at Yane Lab. Do you hope that one day the DIY biohacking movement spreads through Ukraine? And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I can
yeah,
see
yeah.
like it's growing a bit, but it was like completely new. Like I was like I think I can say that I was the first biohacker in Ukraine, and so it's just starting. And Ukraine is a developing country, right? We're the
Right.
like second world country. We're developing, and I see so much potential in Ukraine. Like I see this as like a huge field, which is not used, and I'm like, you can build, like you can grow so much stuff in it. So I'm thinking like there's a great biotech potential in Ukraine, especially being an agricultural country. And I'm like, I want to build, like, I have plans. I think like every biohacker has a plan to build a company, biotech company.
Right.
But I want to do it in Ukraine.
Yeah.
Because there's just like, there are a few of them.
Yeah, is agriculture pretty large for Ukraine? And is there any like, uh, you know, is there any movement on like GMO plants in Ukraine at the moment?
Ukraine is very big on agriculture, actually.
Okay.
Um, and like, because like most of it is prairies, and we have very great soil. And so, yeah, I think, but there's a thing, GMOs are not allowed, like on the field, but a lot of people use GMO stuff, and like it's so uncontrolled and not tested, definitely. So I mean, GMO is great. Like we can use it. Uh, at least we can grow like some GMO. We should grow some GMO weed. I mean, that's important. Uh, my dad like has a farm, works on a farm, so I'm like, I see a lot of potential there. Not for my personal reasons, of
course not.
course.
Of course not.
No.
But Dad, hey, you know, I have this great idea to grow some GMO weed. Just give me a plot of land and I could take care of it.
Yeah. Just working for Ukraine, for our people. No, No other thoughts, no other.
Yeah, no funny business there. But could you imagine just like the potential of creating GM plants and like giving it to Ukraine? Like that in itself would be insanely cool to do because yeah, I mean feeding a population, especially with GM plants and GMO food, it's going to be very important as you know the population grows and we're learning more and more about science. So I think that would be really cool and super important to bring to Yane Lab. All
Yeah.
right. So my last question before we kind of wrap up here is, what is biohacking and what does it mean to you?
Um, that's it. Like, there's so many different ways to describe biohacking, and like I think everyone takes it like makes it more personal and changes it kind of. But that's what's great about it because a lot of people see other like their potential in there and their interests. It's great. To me, biohacking is not only like a lot of people say democratization of science, right? Make it less regulated. And I agree with that, like 100%. But to me, it seems like a very great way to teach people and to build an educational system. Because you gotta work with your hands, you gotta learn how like equipment works, how to build it, how to do experiments. And I want to see many, many labs in Ukraine in the future. So to me, it is educational actually, and more of like decentralization and trying to like destroy the system. It sounds very cheesy, but when you when you actually enter the system, you're like, I hate it. Like I hate it. I want it to not exist. This is way too painful for everyone involved. And I'm like, yeah, I think I agree to that. It sounds very cheesy and very like teenager dream to like destroy the system.
Right.
But I agree. I agree that our science is not built in a very official and good way as it should be. Uh, and same with educational system.
Mm.
We can do better. We should do better. So we gotta change it.
And we're gonna do better. Are you looking for a collaboration for Yane Lab? Like, are you recruiting people to come to your lab and try out experiments and do some teaching, or what's up with that?
Oh, definitely. Like if someone's interested, like I have like two criteria. One criteria, first one is work. You gotta love to work. Like work is important. And second is like you gotta be a dreamer. Like you gotta think about the future
Mm-hmm.
and like work towards that. I like people who can like dream, who can who have a great imagination. That's important. That's
Awesome.
it.
Yeah. Do you have like a Patreon or anything that people can contribute to if they can't be in Ukraine and want to help out?
We haven't Patreon. It's like we haven't launched it yet, but I guess when it comes like this interview, when it mm, when Esther presents it to the
Yeah.
public, it's like it's gonna be like patreon.com/Ganilab.
Okay, cool. I'll drop it in the chat. If it changes, it's okay. You know, we'll have everything in the description, so you can contribute if you'd like. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Daria. It was really great, you know, catching up with you and chatting with you, and you know, finding out what people are doing in Ukraine and like you know, fucking up the system. Like that's certainly something that we always you know think about and plan to do, right? But you are just like living proof of like what is going on truly in the world of biohacking and starting up this like culture in a brand new country. So thanks for coming on. And so if you want to get in touch with Daria, I'm going to put all the links in the chat. And if you want to do like an interview like this, you know, get in touch with me, pitch a proposal, and send me an email. And then lastly, you know, join the Facebook bioengineering group, which will also be in the links as well. And I also started kind of like a Patreon thing. It's called Ko-fi, and it's buy me a beer to support this channel, and so we can bring some really cool people on like Daria in the future. So thanks so much, Daria, and I hope to chat with you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.